Thank you. Thank you for having me. I didn't know my score. I'm glad that 100 brought me up. That's an A. 91 is an A, right? I have to get to 93. There you go. So I'm very excited about that. I'm looking forward to, I think, answering questions from all of you. I've been doing this a long time. I'm in my 27th year of public service. All for me have been in the state legislature. I kind of came to this position through somewhat tragic circumstances. I grew up in a political family. I loved public policy. I loved the political process, but I never really, as a young person, thought that this was what I would be doing with part of my career. I was very proud of my mother, who answered an ad in the newspaper to run for mayor in our hometown, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, the 12th largest town in the state. And I was 9 years old when she got elected in 1977 as the first woman ever elected to be the mayor of the town, and established a distinguished career, setting many firsts as a woman in government and breaking a glass ceiling long before there was a Governor Whitman or a Hillary Clinton. People like my mom were on the ground floor doing remarkable work. And, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention really an icon for us and a mentor in Governor Florio when he was a young congressman. He saw something in my mother as she had been elected mayor of Cherry Hill. And for those of you who remember the Abscam trials, based on the movie American Hustle was based on, there was Arab FBI agents that dressed up as Arab sheiks and caught a sting of political leaders. And Governor Florio was congressman at the time, decided he wanted to clean up local government. And he picked, this pretty much unheard of young mother, wife and mother, my mom, to run for the county governing body. And, she went on to be another first for her to be the local county director, and ultimately finished her career as county surrogate. And for us, I thought which a great example she set for my brother and myself was that even though she was in public service, she was a mom first and a wife and a mother. And we always felt, loved and a part of the process. And we lost her tragically in a car accident in 1995, a tenth of a mile from our home. And I was 28 years old. And I'll never forget, the outpouring from the community was overwhelming. And the headline in the paper the next day was a community had lost its mother. And if you knew our family, if you knew how we approached public service, it was to treat everything and everyone like they were a part of your family. And if it could happen to you, it could happen to them, and vice versa. And when I'd been asked to run for Congress the year before she passed away, and I had said no. I was a young attorney. I was building my practice. I'd met my wife. I knew we were getting married. And I was very happy in the role that many of you are in, about trying to influence elected life and influence public policy, and to work on campaigns for my mom and our local teams down here. But then after she passed away, the party came back to me and said, Lou, we really don't want her memory to die. We want to figure out a way to keep her memory alive. And that's when I decided to run, and I ran with that goal in mind. And I'm very proud that, 27 years later, people remember her to this day, and they bring her up to me wherever I am in any part of the state. And it's just a wonderful tribute to what she stood for and what my mission has been to try to keep that alive. So I've been very fortunate to serve for the last 27 years. My family has grown up in this. I'm very blessed to be married to a wonderful wife who's a speech pathologist by trade. And we have 3 beautiful children that were all born into this process with us. And I think have in their own unique ways committed a part of their life to public service. My oldest daughter is 25. She finishes law school this year. My twins are going to be 22 this month, and they're seniors in college. And I think the quiet influence that we've had by example on them, my youngest daughter, Jenna, is pursuing public health as a career and is going for her graduate degree in public health after she graduates from Muhlenberg. And my son is interviewing with medical schools. And it was just so touched when he said in a very unique way, and I think this is a lesson for all of us, that he's very proud of his family's legacy of public service, but that he doesn't think elected office is right for him. But he wanted to continue public service through medicine and trying to serve those who are underserved and underprivileged. And that really grabbed me in a very unique way. I didn't think it would, but it did. And I'm just very proud of them. And that's what the gift of public service has been. So I'm very honored to, I see the list of some of the people. My good friend Brad Malotsky is on this line. I'm very proud of some of the things that we've done together. And I love serving in public service. I think I'll just close with this, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I'm not an expert on environmental issues and public policy, but I'm very, I think like most people, I'm worried about our children's generation and our grandchildren's generation. And I think the great thing about public service in New Jersey and serving in the legislature for me has been that those areas that we may not be expert in our everyday life, the legislature offers us the opportunity to interface with groups like yours that are, and to be able to champion causes that we believe in, and to be able to get in depth in issues that I wouldn't in my everyday life as an attorney specializing in healthcare. But being in the state legislature, I get to pick issues along the way that I'm either curious about or that people have come to me with a passion on that I wanted to be the champion for, or that they wanted me to be the champion of. And there are issues over my career that I could have never thought that would have been the issues that I would have been involved in, or that those issues would have ever come forward. And again, I apologize for going on so long. I will just close with this though, but one of those issues, and we just saw the debate last week based off the Supreme Court decision on concealed carry weapons. I had the extraordinary privilege of meeting the parents of the children from Sandy Hook after that tragedy. And when I ran for office, it was one of the only groups that supported me was the Brady Foundation. And it was about gun violence prevention and controlling, protecting the Second Amendment, but controlling the access to guns, and in a responsible way. And it was an issue that really didn't come up much in New Jersey over the years until we started to see this explosion of mass shootings around the country. And the families from Sandy Hook came to meet with me, and I was inspired by them. They brought pictures of their children who are timeless now. I have the same pictures of my children from when they were 6, 7, and 8 years old, playing Little League, dressed in their uniforms, their class picture. And those families were kind enough to bring those pictures to me, to give them to me. They remain with me on my desk in Trenton, and they are a constant reminder of what we fight for. And that's an example of an issue that when I started in 1995, I could have never known that history would put me on a crash course with that. And I was very proud to take that issue on. And I relate a lot of these issues on the environment. And much like that, I did not have a personal experience on those issues. I was not touched by a tragedy like the families from Sandy Hook, but I was inspired by them, and I wanted to lead an effort to fight for them. And on many of these environmental issues, I would put myself in the same category. I'm fortunate to be in the position I'm in. I'm fortunate to be surrounded by great friends and staff. And I'm honored when you entrust me on some of these issues, to start by educating me, and then secondly, to help me and allow me to champion those causes for you. And June, I will stop there, and I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. There are a lot of questions that are showing up in the chat, and I have a few to start out with.
Sure.
But I'll try and keep it a little bit shorter. And I do remember your mother with great fondness, having been here for a long time. She was quite an amazing woman.
Yes.
Also, we're all individually experts, maybe in some areas, but a teacher of mine says together we are genius. And that's really what it takes, all of us together working together. So most of us here in South Jersey really love living here. And we know this is a special and unique area. We have wonderful green spaces, our water, our people are very special people, very different from North Jersey, as you know. But historically, there's been a perception that South Jersey doesn't get as much attention from Trenton as we should. Is that changing? And can that happen while we're preserving our unique value?
Yeah, so June, it's a great question. And I think the answer to that is that South Jersey is very much on the radar screen of, the political powers that be. And, politics is a contact sport, as we say all the time. And I think for those of us who have been successful in this sport in South Jersey, it's because we have not been shy about fighting for the rights of South Jersey. And sometimes that puts us at odds with people in our own party. But I believe that, I have multiple responsibilities. One is to govern from a belief structure that I brought to this, and to share those ideas with other people and to try to find compromise where we can. And two, to represent my district, which is South Jersey. And more importantly, as a leader in South Jersey, because of the tenure with which I've served, to represent the entire region of the state when it feels that it is under attack. I would say that we have made tremendous strides. I sit as one of the top 4 or 5 most influential elected officials in the state. We should be very proud that someone from South Jersey is in that position. We did so by forming coalitions with members around the state, but standing strongly together in South Jersey. We will and do disagree amongst ourselves. We try to do that in South Jersey privately and get to a consensus so that we can represent the region together. That's been part of our success. But having wonderful mentors that we went to the wall with, like people like Joe Roberts, our former speaker, has allowed us, between Joe Roberts as Speaker of the Assembly, the 3rd most powerful position in the state, having Steve Sweeney as Senate President, the 2nd most powerful position in the state, and have people like myself serve as the longest tenured majority leader in the history of the state, is very important and very powerful. But to your point, June, there are many people, and I would like to think that I have earned the respect and the credibility that I could be Speaker of our House. But there's a rule. I haven't been able to find it, but South Jersey cannot have apparently both the Senate President and the Speaker. So we have traded those positions in order to make sure that we are equally represented in both houses. And I say that obviously tongue in cheek, but that is still a reminder that this isn't always about what you've stood for, what you have fought for, your capabilities and your credibility. It is about partly the region that we come from and the coalitions that we can build. And we've been successful at that. So we continue to fight for those. I will tell you also that I am not the biggest believer. I've never asked people to introduce me as majority leader. Most of my friends that have become friends through this process know that I will always say to them, just call me Lou. I don't think it's as much about a title as about the coalitions that you can build and how you can articulate an issue and the passion with which you do so. And I think that's been why I've been successful at this, and hopefully continue to be successful at this for a few more years.
We certainly hope so. I have so many questions, and there's so many in the chat, but I think we should probably move it along for some other folks to speak. But one of the things that we were speaking about earlier before you joined us was about air quality. And our the American Lung Association gives us really failing grades, especially in Camden County, about air quality. So there are these new landmark bills out of Washington, the Inflation Reduction Act, of course, and the Infrastructure Investment Act, which are going to be providing billions of dollars to address the root causes of air quality and also many other climate justice issues. And a lot of concern has been expressed among some of our coalition partners about making sure our region, it's kind of a continuation of the previous question of how we get our fair share of the federal government's allocations for things like air monitors and EV charging infrastructure. Public transportation is very big here in South Jersey. Food waste is another one that comes up a lot, and landfill diversion. These are all issues that have to do with air quality and justice for all of our population. So I don't know if you can comment about that now, or if you prefer to.
So June, progress in government is incremental, and we live in an immediate gratification society, especially with, I think, access to social media, which troubles me greatly, and I think is the greatest threat to our freedoms and our democracy sometimes. But it is also a remarkable tool. But I would say to you that part of our incremental change and success has been, the last report card I saw had 8 New Jersey counties register with an F grade. So that was the latest one before the most recent one. And we cut 8 down to 6. And it is an indication that elections matter. And, Governor Murphy has been a remarkable steward of public policy around energy, alternative energy sources, the energy master plan, his goal of getting to 100% clean energy by 2050, and 50% of the state's electricity supply to be derived by renewable energy in, 8 very soon years. It's a very ambitious plan. And it's a plan, I think, that we have to have flexibility in order to hit those numbers, because we learn more and more about this. What we think we know today may be different tomorrow. So I think it's important to set these goals and then work to those goals, and then to be able to take advantage of new technologies, new advancements, new developments. I would say also that some of the things that we have fought for, not directly related to environmental public policy, but trying to create opportunities that were outside traditional manufacturing areas in areas like Camden and Trenton that were so hard hit by those industries, very important at the time, dating back to World War II and beyond. But some of the major investments that we made and fought for instance, we had a 30-year fight from my mother's generation through to mine for the credibility to have a medical school in South Jersey. Mm-hmm. And there were many people that fought and said, well, why do you need a medical school in South Jersey? You can go over the bridge to Jefferson or Penn or Hahnemann or And I thought to myself, would you ever say that about North Jersey or any other state? Would Pennsylvania ever say, oh, you don't have to go to Philadelphia, come over to New Jersey? So we made major investments into health sciences, restructuring Rutgers University, very controversial at the time, but to invest in eds and meds, as we called it. We put the Cancer Institute of New Jersey, which is one of the leading cancer institutes in the country and on the national cancer designation. We put that in Rutgers University. We used the investment that we made with them and learned from what they had invested in to expand cancer research and development in the South Jersey, which ultimately led to the tremendous investment of MD Anderson to come to South Jersey. And what we've now seen is partnerships with facilities like Jefferson, making a major investment in South Jersey, University of Pennsylvania. If you go up and down Route 70 in Cherry Hill, you see an eds and meds corridor that is developed there. And what that has done is, when we look at the improvements, and when President Obama came to Camden and stood on a dais with myself and Governor Christie and some of our leaders from South Jersey and held Camden up as a national model of urban redevelopment, it is what the type of public policy that I enjoy the most, of bipartisan policy, bringing people together. And it has created jobs to where today, again, incremental change, that was probably close to 10 years ago. But we have the lowest unemployment rate right now in Camden City in single digits in the last 40 years. And our education scores are up in the city. Crime rate is down in the city. And we're building the first non-low income housing in the city, which feeds the rest of our region in a very real way. All that being said, Camden County still falls in that F grade.
Mhm.
So we need to see, we think these investments will ultimately lead in some respects to helping reduce that, also in educating people into better healthcare conditions that are tied to environmental conditions. But there's more work to do. There's no doubt about it. That's where, quite honestly, being able to lean on organizations like yours to help us understand, hopefully have you understand the direction and the goals that we are driving in, and where we can sprinkle in some of these ideas that will help get us there faster, but also have what I call some off ramps of other good public policy ideas. So that as we're on our journey, we're hitting some other rest stops along the way to close some of these gaps.
Wonderful.
But I am troubled that a lot of these areas are in, our traditional urban areas, of which New Jersey has a rich history and needs help. And I'll finish with this also. The water infrastructure, and that's an area that I've gotten very passionate about, but the water infrastructure in many of our urban areas date back to the Civil War and are
Yes.
antiquated and need tremendous help. And I think there is, again, you'll notice a lot of trends with me, and I know I sound like a broken record sometimes, but in our immediate gratification society, I go to the wall and I hit the switch and the light goes on, and I think, well, that's just what's supposed to happen. You go to the faucet and and water comes out, and you think that's what's supposed to happen. We don't see the infrastructure that's underneath the ground, and sometimes we don't appreciate the investment that needs to be invested there because we spend hundreds of millions of dollars on it. And people say, well, what did I get from my money? I turned my water on last week, it comes on. I turned my water on this week, it comes on. What did we spend all this money on? They don't understand that just like any other infrastructure, if you do not make the ongoing investment, you will eventually impact quality, which will impact our environment, which will impact our public health.
You're